will be in my heart and on my lips, that I may worthily proclaim your holy gospel. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Now on a Sabbath day, Jesus had gone for a meal to the house of one of the leading Pharisees, and they watched him closely. He then told the guests a parable, because he noticed how they picked the places of honor. He said this: "When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take your seat in the place of honor. A more distinguished person than you may have been invited, and the person who invited you both may come and say, 'Give up your place to this man.' And then, to your embarrassment, you would have to go and take the lowest place. No, when you are a guest, make your way to the lowest place and sit there, so that when your host comes, he may say, 'My friend, move up higher.' In that way, everyone with you at the table will see you honored. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and the man who humbles himself will be exalted." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
The words of the Gospel wipe away all our sins. Now, a different letter of St. Paul. We concluded our journey through the letter to the Ephesians over the last number of days, and now it's the turn of St. Paul's letter to the Philippians. And we see a similar theme at work here, that it is Jesus Christ who is at the very heart of St. Paul's message always. And Christ, it begins, Christ is proclaimed. That makes me happy. And he's kind of stuck betwixt and between. He wants to be with Christ in eternity. He wants to take his leave of this life in order to be with, his beloved, so to speak, to reap the reward of his faith and his labours. And yet he's conflicted, because still there's work to be done, and there's souls to be saved, and there's people to be ministered to bring at the same time to Christ. So he doesn't know how he should choose. I want to be gone and be with Christ, which would be great, very much better, but to stay alive is more urgent need for your sake. So that's the sign of a real apostle. It's not about himself. He's looking first and foremost and always to Jesus Christ, and then his ministry to serve others too. And so that's the right order of things, isn't it? That joy is the word. Jesus, others, you. We come last. It's a nice little acronym. So St. Paul has that right. And so Jesus the same, again in the gospel, seek the lowest place. And this gospel always reminds me of the occasion that I was invited to, and I was trying to find the lowest place and got shipped right up to the highest place, up at the top table, and I had no business at all being at the top table. It just did not fit. There were people kind of in the other tables that should have been where I was, and it was like, no, get me out of here. It was very kind of the host indeed to do that, but it wasn't. Anyway, I was stuck. What could you do? But it is. Jesus' teaching is right. Who are we? What am I? If we can consider ourselves indeed as simply, I love Mother Teresa's line that she considers herself God's pencil. And that if a pencil, it breaks easily, it gets blunt easily, so that the lead comes out, and just a kind of a weak instrument, but in God's hands to be able to write as God would be used as God would wish it to be used. And I like the idea too, if you want to extend the analogy of the sharpening of the pencil as kind of the pruning, to get a sharp point on it, the Lord kind of does that with us too, and takes the bluntness out of maybe our productivity or our efforts for him, and sharpens it up from time to time as well. And that's a painful extension of that analogy, if you like, but it seems to fit. But this idea then again of being of service, another kind of a line of St. Mother Teresa, her prayer, her new prayer, as she said to Father Groeschel once, is, "Lord, use me, don't consult me." So she kind of looked at maybe the synod and all the consultations going on. She said, well, look, use me. Don't forget the consultation. There's work to be done. And that's this idea again of service and of being available to others and allowing ourselves to be open to God's will to be used in that way. So nice little readings that come together for us, maybe to see how it is that we can be of service to God first, Jesus, to others, and then we can see God's grace at work maybe through us too, and give the glory then back to God, as St.